Hey there, welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Hope everybody out there is having a great weekend. You are enjoying your NFL Week 11. Thank you so much for joining the show. A lot to get into today. The Birds are 8-2, winners of 6 games in a row, first place in the NFC East, second seed in the NFC playoff picture, and they're relaxing on this Sunday, allowing us to relax a little bit on this Sunday. Anytime that you can have a stress-free Sunday during the football season, it's always a good thing. A reminder before we dive in to subscribe to the channel, Eagles Now, largest independently run Philadelphia Eagles channel right here on YouTube. We're currently sitting at 91,416 subscribers, closing in on that really special milestone of 100,000 subs. So be sure to lock us in, hit that sub button right now for daily and year-round coverage of the Birds. And today's show sponsored by our friends at Prize Picks. Millions of members across the country, billions of dollars in awarded winnings. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Right now, when you play $5, you get $50 instantly. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Choose more or less on a player's projected stat lines, and you're guaranteed to win some big-time money. Run your game with Prize Picks, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS so that Prize Picks knows that Chat Sports and Eagles Now sent you. Today, I want to talk about some brilliant Howie Roseman moves that have resulted in these players that we're going to discuss on today's show making a high-level impact on the field. The Eagles wouldn't be where they are without them. 8-2, atop the NFC East, second seed in the NFC, and these players are playing such great football at a low cost. That is the Howie Roseman way. He is so cost efficient, financially savvy. Oftentimes he's able to pull off highway robberies against other teams in the NFL. And because of that, Howie Roseman has worked his magic once again with the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. Is he perfect? No. Has every free agency signing worked out? No. Has he had some misses in the NFL draft? For sure. But the Eagles as an organization, led by Jeffrey Lurie, head coach by Nick Sirianni, Eagles fans, they should be very thankful that Howie Roseman is at the helm. He has improved with his player evaluation and his scouting. He churns out general manager candidates in his front office for other teams to poach year in and year out. He continues to be the best when it comes to value, trades, signings, and he is such a forward-thinking general manager. And this year, with the current construction of this roster and the impact that the Eagles have had from these players who we're going to talk about on today's show, it is all a byproduct of Howie Roseman working his magic. And let's start off on an obvious front. Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is not just an NFL Offensive Player of the Year candidate. At the running back position, and a running back hasn't won an MVP since Adrian Peterson, he is a bona fide, surefire MVP candidate. And he poached him away from a division rival in the New York Giants. And the Giants letting Saquon Barkley walk might be the worst move of the offseason. Owner John Mara hasn't been able to sleep. Joe Shane is in shambles. And Saquon Barkley's cap hit in 2024 is tied for 436th in the NFL. Cap hits this year, Daniel Jones, $47.8 million. Saquon Barkley, $3.8 million. The Giants could have signed 12 and a half Saquon Barkleys for the price of one Daniel Jones. And he's leading the NFL in rushing yards. He's leading the NFL in yards from scrimmage going into today. Derrick Henry behind him. We'll see what he does throughout the afternoon in a great AFC North matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, by the way, I think they are a threat for the Kansas City Chiefs. They are legit. And Saquon's by far having the best year of his career. 10 games played. He already has more than 1,100 rushing yards. He is leading the league in that category in addition to attempts. And some people might be worried about that because Saquon has an injury history. You signed him to $26 million in guaranteed money. It's pretty much a 2-year deal, $13 million per. And I said all offseason, use him. And if you have to use him a lot and it leads to this Eagles offense being prolific and this Eagles team being great, it's basically a 2-year contract. Now, he does have only 8 touchdowns. There have been a lot of moments where he's gotten tackled at the 1, inside the 5, and then Jalen Hurts has been able to run it in with some brotherly shove touchdowns. During the 6-game winning streak, Hurts has 9 rushing touchdowns, I believe. And so that's taken a little bit away from Saquon, but he should not be knocked by MVP voters because of his lack of rushing touchdowns. Look at the impact. Our eyes are not lying to us. This Eagles offense, the complexion of it, the feel of it, the explosive nature of it, the look of it, it is different with Saquon Barkley. He's averaging more than 113 yards per game. That also leads the NFL. He has 2 receiving touchdowns, and he has 23 catches for 210 yards. So already Saquon Barkley has more than 1,300 all-purpose yards, and the Eagles have played 10 games. You think about some of the moves elsewhere that Howie Roseman's been able to make. And with Saquon, 3 years, $37.5 million. I have never been a massive fan of paying running backs a ton of money, but when we were talking in the lead up to free agency about some of the buzz of the Eagles signing Saquon, whether or not they should do it, and I was giving my prediction that I think Saquon's going to go to Philadelphia, just another thing that I was right about, wink, wink. I had said, I'm not a huge fan of paying running backs because you can find really good ones elsewhere. But if you can get them on a financially efficient deal, and that's what Howie Roseman does, and you were adding him to an offense with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, a top 5 offensive line, and Jalen Hurts, you're just adding another weapon to make your team even better. So why not? It's not like the Eagles had many weaknesses. And so they had a bunch of strengths offensively, and now you're adding Saquon Barkley to the equation. And I had said going into this year, he can be the Eagles' version of what Christian McCaffrey was for the Niners last year. Offensive Player of the Year, top 5 MVP voting, led the NFL in touches, was tied with Raheem Mostert for the most touchdowns with 21, and had more than 2,000 all-purpose yards. Saquon Barkley is averaging more yards a game through 10 games than Christian McCaffrey did last year. And so I was a fan of bringing in Saquon because I knew he could help out Jalen Hurts coming off a bad year. He has never been behind an offensive line like this. He's never played with the quarterback like this. And he's never had complementary weapons around him. And that has resulted in Saquon being so dominant and this Eagles team being very difficult to defend. So 3 years, $37.5 million, I will pay that for a weapon because I don't necessarily look at Saquon Barkley as only a running back. And then elsewhere, as I had noted, Zack Baun, a 1-year, $1.5 million contract, 1.6 to be precise. He has been the second best off-ball linebacker behind Fred Warner, who is a Hall of Famer and has been the best linebacker in the game for several years running. Fred Warner's missed 1 game throughout his career. He wreaks havoc every single game. He is tremendous in coverage, and Zack Baun has been the second best off-ball linebacker behind him, making plays against the run, making plays against the pass, use him as a blitzer, dropping back in coverage and locking down tight ends, wide receivers, making impactful plays, forcing fumbles, recovering fumbles, making big 4th down stops like he did against the Commanders. Huge stops against the run for $1.5 million. And this is a credit to Vic Fangio and Howie Roseman. He did not play off-ball linebacker last year. He was an on-ball edge rusher last year with the New Orleans Saints. So he's playing a new position, and he's been one of the top linebackers in the league for $1.6 million. Quinyon Mitchell, 22nd pick. The Eagles did not have to move up to take the best corner in the draft. He was my number 1 player who I wanted for this Eagles team. He was my number 1 corner. In my first mock draft for the Eagles, I had them trading up to take Quinyon Mitchell. He fell to the Eagles. 44 pass breakups the last 2 years at Toledo. Great ball skills, 4.3 speed, physicality, plays with swagger and confidence, good technique, so polished with his back pedal, flipping his hips. How about what he did against Terry McLaurin? Matched up on McLaurin, one of the top wide receivers in the game, for 20 of his 25 routes, 0 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards. Cooper DeJean, the 40th pick. The Eagles traded up with the Commanders to get maybe the second best corner in the league behind his teammate in Quinyon Mitchell. And Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, cost-controlled, affordable, important assets for this remade Eagles defense that has gone from one of the worst in the league to arguably the best year over year because of Howie Roseman in free agency and in the draft, and now Mitchell, DeJean are going to be affordable for the next 4 years of their deals, and for Quinyon, probably a fifth because the Eagles will obviously exercise his fifth-year option, and hopefully they continue to ball well. And so when Howie makes moves like that, is he on his way to being a 3-time Executive of the Year winner? Because he's already won 2 of those awards. And right now, with how bad the Eagles were on defense, the improvements that they've made on offense, signing Saquon Barkley, who's an MVP and Offensive Player of the Year candidate, now they're 8-2. This is because of what Howie Roseman was able to do in working his magic. And now, in Quinyon Mitchell, Zack, Baun, Jalen Carter, who Howie Roseman drafted, moved up to take, by the way, the Eagles have a player at all 3 levels of their defense that are playing at a top 2 to 3 level at their respective positions in the entire NFL. Think about Josh Sweat, right? He came back to the Eagles on a restructured deal. And Josh Sweat has been really good for this team, much better than he was last year. And at 27 years old, he's probably having the second best year of his career, the best one back in 2022 when he had a career-high 11 sacks. He has 6 sacks already this year. He had 6.5 all of last year. Nolan Smith, another player who Howie Roseman drafted at 30th overall, year 2. He now has at least a half sack in 3 of his last 5 games, and when you watch Eagles games, he's making an impact. And Howie didn't move up to take him. He fell to the Eagles at number 30, and it looks as though he got really good value there. Let's give some credit to Jordan Davis. He started to play well. Nakobe Dean seems to get better every single week. Reed Blankenship, restructured contract, and he is now under wraps and under contract over the next couple of years at an extremely affordable rate. His running mate, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, playing well. Isaiah Rodgers, value deal. Mekhi Becton, one of the top right guards in the game. He drafted Cam Jurgens. He drafted Landon Dickerson. He drafted Jordan Mailata. He traded for A.J. Brown. He drafted Devontae Smith. See what I'm saying here? I know that some people will criticize Howie for missing on some selections, but give credit where credit is due, because the moves that he has made have resulted in the Eagles being where they are right now in the 2024 campaign. So I wanted to hop on the mic, talk some Eagles here. Thanks for watching Eagles Now. You already know the deal. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, closing in on 100,000 subs, and I'll be back in the studio tomorrow. Can't wait to talk birds with all of you.